James earns millions from internet marketing. Tim's got millions of questions. Welcome to Freedom Ocean. Now, jump on in.
James Schramko, welcome back to the wonderfully warm and giving waters of the Freedom Ocean, my friend.
It's my pleasure to be here, Tim.
I know that you've been itching to get back into these warm waters of internet marketing. Are you glad to be there?
Yeah, I'm always keen to talk about internet marketing. It's an absolute passion of mine, and I've been hanging out for this episode.
I know you have been. And in fact, welcome back, listeners, to the number one, what would we call it, internet marketing podcast in Australia, as ranked by the Apple iTunes store. So welcome back. We know you're loving it because we're getting some fantastic feedback on the show notes and via iTunes and through our Facebook and through all sorts of wonderful online channels, James. And we record this episode on the eve of you heading off to the Philippines and me heading off to Port Douglas for a bit of time.
Jet setting. We're jet setting, aren't we?
Absolutely. What are you doing in the Philippines? Do you want to share that?
I'm going to hang out with my team for a week, which will be a lot of fun. They're just amazing. We'll be talking about internet marketing. We'll be implementing new strategies in our business, sharing some ideas, and just enjoying discussion, I suppose. They're just wonderful people, and to have a team is terrific. And these people are so talented. So I really enjoy my trips to the Philippines.
And powerful stuff when, outsourcing is a powerful strategy anyway for any internet marketer, but when you can actually get to the point of being able to go over and spend time with your team, you can only expect to see greater results. You were there about 6 months ago, weren't you? Did you see big results having spent time face-to-face with them?
Yeah. As soon as you go and meet your team face-to-face, you have a much better connection. You really do relate to each other better. You can uncover all the hidden talents that they have. When you get into talking, you find out things that you wouldn't necessarily have known before. You can get a much better appreciation for the culture and the lifestyle and the way they live. And also, I've found, when I'm able to explain things in more depth, even if it's like a workshop scenario, they really grasp the meaning of it. For example, one of my team members has been updating one of my websites every single day, and her sales copy and selling ability has just skyrocketed. And that's because we're able to sit down and just discuss it, even just talking over dinner and in the classroom environment, being able to explain what sales copy is and why we do things. And that's a big one. The why is more important than anything else, why we do things. And once they connect with that, that will leverage across your entire business.
There is a massive power in understanding the why. In fact, some of the stuff that you and I were doing just before we went on air, where you were helping me setting up some things in regards to hosting and video players, etc. When you understand the why, the how becomes a hell of a lot easier. So, in fact, we'll be talking about that very shortly. James, I was just thinking, while you're in Manila, I'll be in Port Douglas. And for our overseas listeners, that's kind of like, what do you reckon? Would I say I was going to say it's like the Miami of Australia, but it's not at all. It's just a nice hot tropical place, isn't it?
Yeah, there's not so much pastel running around, and
no, there's not. But what
it is warm. They drink beer.
Warm. They drink beer. I think there'll be a lot of people up there who may well live in the Freedom Ocean, because there's probably a lot of well-off people in Port Douglas and who have a lot of time. I always wonder when I go to places like Port Douglas what people do for a living up there to be able to live a wonderful life in such a wonderful part of Australia. What I am going to do, though, James, is see whether I can get a photo taken of myself sitting in a deck chair to replace the one on our homepage, on our website's banner at the moment. Just might be able to up the quality a little bit, hey?
I kind of like that to caricature.
It's a bit of fun, isn't it? I do love the brand, with the visual brand that is Freedom Ocean. I'd go as far as actually to wearing it on a T-shirt. I'm that proud of it. My wonderful designer in Serbia, his name's Nikola, designed that for us, and it's fantastic. I might get a T-shirt made for your upcoming event where I will be wandering on stage. We'll talk about that later, mate. What we are going to talk about for episode 19 of Freedom Ocean is hosting. That very technical world of hosting, and you've just helped me out with a whole lot of I wouldn't say hosting issues, but set me up with some hosting that is going to see me well into the future and allow me to create some really fantastic products. So I thought in order to set the scene, just by way of a little bit of a background story, I am in the process, very, very close, in fact, as we record this, to launching my upcoming online marketing communications masterclass, which will be probably launched in the next 2 weeks, and anyone who's on our list will be able to access that. So if they just go to freedomocean.com and register, they'll be the first to know when that's launched. But gee, that's been an interesting journey, James. Whilst I have a huge amount of knowledge as a small business marketing person, setting up the entire process of selling an online masterclass has been an interesting learning curve, and you've helped me a lot along the way. Just so listeners know what I'm talking about, you think, okay, well, I'm going to sell an online masterclass. It's going to be where people come and via webinar hear from me and a whole lot of other marketing specialists in the areas of all sorts of things. And so that's pretty easy. It's pretty easy to set up a webinar. But then you realise that you've got to set up a dedicated page on your website. You've got to go and record a video, which in my case involved PowerPoint slides and audio, and also video of myself. I've then got to set up a PayPal button. I've got to get that hosted somewhere. And the list of things goes on and on and on.
Starts to add up, doesn't it?
It really does. And I can absolutely understand why many people sort of start with the greatest of intentions, but along the way fall down at one of a number of those hurdles that I just mentioned.
And I can also see why it's even harder for people to try and get other people to do these bits for them, because even if you know what you want, it's sort of hard to put together the pieces with external providers.
Totally. In fact, I'd even like to touch on that. Gee, what do we talk about first? Talk about the guy with
let's go with
questions.
Hosting first. If that's
the
topic.
That is the topic. The other question that came to mind was, we'll go in depth now about talking about hosting, but it's like, what if you don't have someone? I mean, you just walked me through a technical minefield an hour ago, and even though you said, you've got to get this hosting and you need these couple of third-party add-ons that'll make it a hell of a lot easier, it's like, what if you don't have access to a James or someone else? So that's interesting in itself, and I know there's some solutions we can offer our listeners on that. We'll talk about that either later in this episode or a coming episode. But hosting, mate, what is hosting, first of all? And is any old hosting just worthwhile, or is there particular hosting characteristics of good hosting that you should look for?
There are, and it's something that I really struggled with in the beginning. The first time I tried to set up a website, I did what everyone else does. I go online, I look for hosting companies, I ordered it, had no idea what I was doing. It was very confusing. And of course, you get the hang of it. Now, I think the easiest solution for most people will be to look at a service like HostGator. And they are resellers of one of the largest server farms in the world called The Planet. And HostGator have quite friendly customer service.
So until then, see you next time, mate.
See you then.
Bye.
Thanks for diving into the Freedom Ocean with James Schramko and Tim Reed. You've just come that little bit closer to living the life you choose. Please keep in mind that the ideas, opinions, and information shared in the show are those of the hosts and do not reflect those of their past employers. And as far as future employers go, well, they're both pretty much unemployable.